So good evening, everyone. Welcome. Nice to see you all. Hope you all had a nice long weekend and holiday. Thank you all for being here. I call this regular meeting of our Town Plan and Zoning Commission to order. It is Tuesday, July 5th, 2022 at 6:35 p.m. So hi, everyone. My name is Rob Klee. I'm the chair of our Woodbridge Plan and Zoning Commission. Other members who are with us here tonight include Yoni Zamir, Andrew Skolnick, Jeff Kennedy, Kathy Hunter, and Robert Reed. So welcome, Robert. Nice to have you in our group tonight. Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you. Tonight, as always, we're ably supported by Chris Sullivan, who's our town land use analyst and zoning enforcement officer. You're here in person, adjacent to the green where they're having their concert tonight. So there'll be a little background music maybe in our recording tonight. And our agenda has been available on the town website, as it always is. If you look at the agenda tonight, we have 3 items of new business. First is a request for a special exception permit for excavation at 110 Luciani Road to construct 2 single-family residences. The second one is another application for a special exception for a restaurant liquor establishment at 9 Lucy Street. And the third is the Toll Brothers application for an over 55 housing project at 1710 and 1722 Litchfield Turnpike and the parcels at 49, 52, and 57 Bradley Road. So we're going to start with a new business, then we'll move to our work session where we have a few items, including the nomination of an ex officio member to the QPOP, which is the Town Properties Committee, which I've now forgotten what QPOP stands for. We're going to discuss the cleanup work that our consultant planner, Glenn Chalder, has been doing. We're going to also check back in with our potential actions regarding zoning regulations addressing recreational cannabis dealers, which is a follow-up from the informational forum we had way back on Tuesday, May 10th, I believe. And we're going to have Andrew with his report of the activities of the Southern Connecticut Regional Council of Governments and report of the zoning officer. We have some minutes to approve. And we've also received some correspondence regarding PFOA and PFAS levels at the Amity Regional High School turf field. Whew, that was a mouthful. So did I miss anything, Chris?
There's one other item of correspondence which I sent to you after, and I think it was in your package, but it wasn't in Jeff's, and that was from Stephanie Charleglio, and that was regarding if you would consider changing the parking requirements down in the residential C and D districts. So that's in there too.
Yes, thank you, Chris. I did see that in the packet we received. If you have one extra copy for Jeff.
I have it, yeah.
Yes. Great. So we'll add that to our discussion and correspondence.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah. The danger up here every time you move big papers is that they cause Pua to have a headache. So sorry for that.
I think it's
sorry.
by this time. That poor fella.
All right. So, Chris, unless there's anything else that I missed, should we go to our new business and start with number 1?
Certainly.
So we are receiving this request for a special exception. Chris, it's been a while. What's our standard procedure here?
This is for earth removal, fill and regrading. This was something that came before the commission many years ago. It's at the end of Luciani Street. It's currently one lot, so to do what they're proposing to do on the site plan, at some point they're going to have to come back and divide it back into 2 pieces. Because what they're showing now is excavation to create 2 building lots where there currently is 1. So
it's not subdivided at present, Chris?
it had been subdivided, and under the last application that came before you, they merged it into 1, because at that point they were just building 1 building lot. So this is now proposing for 2. Originally it was 2. And typically this is an application that you'll send off to your consulting engineer to review. I do note that there is some excavation that's proposed in the town road right-of-way, so I'm not sure how that gets addressed, so we can refer that off to town council too and have him weigh in on that.
So, because this is a request for a special exception, we would also schedule a public hearing on
We
it.
need to schedule a public hearing, but we need to do it in a time frame that allows our consulting engineer to be able to get back to you with his comments, hopefully in a timely enough manner that their consultant can then respond back, so that you're not, you don't start a meeting and don't really progress very far with that meeting.
Gotcha. So do you think, have you talked with our consulting engineer? So would next month's meeting be too?
Well, your next regular meeting isn't until September,
Oh,
because you typically don't have a meeting in August. So it's your pleasure what you choose to do. Of the ones that are before you, the next one down for the liquor thing and then toll, they're really interested. I'm not saying that nobody's not interested, but they're really pushing to try to get those things done sooner rather than later.
So would scheduling number 1 for a September public hearing be impractical? Should we go to October?
I think September should give adequate time for review and then, back and forth.
and this one hasn't expressed the urgency
That the other two have, yeah.
Any other feeling of the board commission on sort of timing and the referral to the engineering review?
Our meeting's September 6th, right, Chris? Is that
It's a Tuesday because of Labor Day being on Monday.
same as today? How that
Yes.
went with Joel? Okay. Okay, it's just, okay.
I just had a question. I mean, Chris Cola is the town selected contractor to do an engineering review?
Jim Preedy is with Criscolo Engineering, and that's who we traditionally been using since like 2002.
Is there a timing on, historically, when we make these types of engineering requests on the turnaround to get the conclusion of the report? 6 weeks?
They
4
normally
weeks?
try to get them as soon as they can, and normally he can get it back to us before your next meeting. But I know that he's really bombarded with stuff, and your next meeting isn't until September, so he should be able to turn it around by September, I would think.
Yeah. And that was my follow-up question. I just didn't want it to, I didn't want to receive it a week prior to September 6th, and we haven't had as a committee opportunity to review it. So, I mean,
Right.
and it sounds
So,
like he'll be
the goal-
back in time with it.
The goal would be to receive it in enough time so that we can
Yeah.
get it to their consultant to in turn respond to any comments that their consultant has regarding it.
Yeah, perfect, thank you.
But I think with that September date, that should all
There should be an adequate turnaround time.
So do you need a motion?
Yes.
So I will move to schedule this Luciani Properties LLC special exception permits public hearing for 110 Luciani Road, including a referral to the town engineer for review, and have that public hearing on our next regular meeting scheduled for September 6th.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Comments, reactions? Seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? There are none. Chris, who's voting today?
We're just gonna note, I was just gonna say, we'll note for the record that both Kathleen and Robert Reed are voting this evening because Paul Schatz is not here and Larry Greenberg has
Resigned.
retired, so
Yes.
we have need of 2 members to vote.
Are we down a regular member?
Yeah,
Yes.
Larry Greenberg resigned.
No, I know, I didn't know if he had been replaced yet.
Nope.
He's not replaceable.
He's irreplaceable.
He's
That's right,
irreplaceable.
Jeff. I heard that. Just wanted to repeat it so everyone else heard it too. Okay, so number 1, we've checked off. Number 2 on our new business is an application for a special exception for a restaurant liquor establishment at 9 Lucy Street from John Heffernan, doing business as Savory and Vine LLC. So this one again needs a public hearing, though I don't think we need a referral to anyone on this one. And Chris have expressed some interest in moving quickly.
Yes, they'd like to, he's ready to roll as soon as he can roll.
And
This is where,
there's a
Process was?
Yeah, the Mexican restaurant,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that was.
So this has to be public as well, right? Special
Yes.
exception, so we have to invite people to come to and give notice, right?
It's a typical public
Just a
hearing.
typical, yeah, okay.
I mean, the question is whether we have a special meeting in August,
Right,
which the Toll Brothers are probably asking for as well.
right.
August, there's a lot of travel, including for me, though I'm not essential. But I am traveling August 4th through 20-something. Hold on one sec, I'll get an exact date. Do other people have vacation challenges?
Next week for me.
I just got back from vacation. I would say that I would make myself flexible to try to accommodate these requests if available. Like I will try to do that, to get it done for these guys.
Maybe we should actually start there. Are people willing to try to find a time in August if we can?
I am tentatively scheduled to be off like the last week in August.
What about the last week of July? Do we have to have, Mr. Chairman, 30 days notice, or Christine? Do we have to have that? Like,
The main thing is that you've got a big set of plans that have to go off to both the architectural review board, to your consultant, your engineering consultant, as well as to a traffic engineer if you so choose.
Understood.
That's for the Toll Brothers.
Toll
For-
Brothers.
For this one, not as. So,
I just as soon only have one special meeting, though?
I agree to do it.
Understood, yes,
Once.
yeah.
So I'm back the week of the August 22nd, including that Monday, the 22nd. How does that?
I'm gone that week. I'm gone that week and the week before.
29th?
Free that week.
Bumping into Labor Day weekend.
It's Labor Day weekend the next weekend.
Labor Day weekend would be, what, the 5th?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we have our regular meeting on the 6th, I assume.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you just want to keep it to the 6th, rather than having a special meeting?
Well, I mean, again, we can have meetings without, if we get a quorum, it's,
Well, that's the whole issue, you need one.
so how many folks can do so Yoni, you can't do the week of the 22nd
Or the 15th.
or the 15th.
What did we say about the week of the 8th? Folks can't do that.
I'm out the 8th, but,
How about the first?
but I don't think we can get do you think we can get the things back for the 1st?
I don't know. I mean, that's basically giving him 4 weeks to turn it around, get comments to their engineer and get it back again.
That's the challenge of August, which is why we normally don't have a meeting in
Yeah.
August.
Well, maybe it has to be September 6th. I mean, we're making an effort, so that's good. But maybe it just needs to be the
Well,
6th.
I mean, we could do it the 20th. How many folks can do it the 22nd? I know Yoni cannot.
I can't.
I probably can.
So
So that's a quorum.
that would be a quorum.
Okay.
I mean, is that okay, Yoni?
I have no objection. You have a meeting without me? Please.
So the 22nd, I think, also gives some time for, particularly for the one we're not talking about right now, some time for
Yeah.
all the reviews and whatnot. So,
And might we have an additional member by then?
I haven't heard, but I will check. We might. And then again, you've got Sue and Paul who may also be down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I will make a motion for item number 2, the application for a special permit for a restaurant liquor establishment submitted by John Heffernan doing business as Savory and Vine at 9 Lucy Street for a public hearing at a special meeting on August 22nd.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion from commission members? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? There are none. Alrighty. Item number 3, the application of the Toll Brothers for 2 parcels on Litchfield Turnpike and 3 parcels on Bradley Road for their over 55 housing project, which needs quite a few things. Site plan approval, special exceptions, approval of their sediment erosion control stormwater plan, and a special exception for excavation and removal and grading.
And they're also going for a variance, which will be heard next Monday. They're seeking, your regulations require that within the first 25 feet, you can't have a fence over 4 feet in height. And so they're seeking a variance to allow a fence 6 feet in height, because along Litchfield Turnpike, that would be the rear of some of the houses that would be within the thing. And the whole idea is for them to have a gated community. So they have submitted an application to the Zoning Board of Appeals for that, which will be heard next Monday. And then they've also submitted an application to the Inland Wetlands Agency, which will be heard on the 20th, and that agency will determine whether they actually even need a permit from them, because there are no wetlands per se on this project.
Okay. And then this one, we have received, what have we, can you actually go over what we've sort of gotten? We have the big.
So you have a traffic report, you have an engineering report, you have a consent letter from the actual owner of record. The property has not yet been conveyed to Toll. And then you have your set of plans, which includes the plans for the house design as well as the site plans, the site drainage, and all that other good stuff. So what happened before was you engaged a traffic consultant to review the traffic report, because obviously there's always been concerns about traffic down in that neck of the woods. It does tend to get very congested at particular times of the day. So it would go off to there. It should go off to the Architectural Review Board for review, and then also to your consulting engineer in terms of drainage and all that other good stuff. So it's got three places to get sent to. Architectural Review Board has to respond back to you within 35 days. So by your August hearing date, if that's what you choose, that report would be back. ZBA will have made a decision, and wetlands will be either saying there's no permit required or something.
Okay. And now we have all of those things
All
in
your
hand.
stuff is here. Yep.
And why is it that a special exception is required, from what I understood to be an approval for the same location whenever it was 10 or 12 years ago? Is it because it's no longer mixed use?
It's no longer misuse. It's coming in under that over 55 housing without commercial. And they were also looking at, having a clean set of time frame to build, although they're not looking to prolong this. Once they get a green light, they anticipate that within, I believe, 2 years, they would have the project done.
So are we proposing to do that on August 22nd as well? Is that
I
what?
believe that's what we're thinking about.
Okay.
So I will make a motion, unless we have other technical questions for Chris on what's in front of us. Okay, so I'll make a motion to schedule the Toll Brothers application, in which they're seeking site plan approval, special exception for an active adult community, certification of their sediment and erosion and/or stormwater plan, and a special exception for excavation, removal, filling, and grading for the over 55 housing project at 1710 and 1722 Litchfield Turnpike and 49, 53, and 57 Bradley Road, for a public hearing to be scheduled on Monday, August 22nd. That's what I've moved. Oh, with a referral to our town engineer or engineering consultant for review of their stormwater plans, referral for a specific review of the traffic engineering report, and a referral to the architectural review board because it's in the special district. That's what I've moved.
Second.
And it's been seconded. Any discussion?
I have no comment, no discussion.
The only thing we have budget for this, right, Chris?
The way your regulations are structured, there's a supplemental application fee that gets collected, and that is to cover the cost of any consultants that you need to hire to review plans. So there is no cost to the
Thank
general
you,
public,
Chris.
which is as it should be.
Appreciate it. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed, any abstentions? Great, we've now scheduled our 3 items of new business. Thank you all, and thank you also for your flexibility and schedule for a mid-late August meeting. I will be just in and jet lagged, so I will be able to do my best on that hearing, hopefully. Terrific. So, Chris, anything else, or should we move to our work session?
You can move to your work session. You're
Very good.
Terrific. So we are now in our work session. First item, we got a note from our friends over at the QPOP, which, Chris, what does that actually stand for?
I can't remember. Paula, do you know?
Commission on the Use of Publicly Owned Property.
The Commission on the Use of Publicly Owned Properties. And I vaguely recall that I think I was the representative, but I had not been attending those meetings, and they may not have been happy about that.
I nominate Robert Clee.
So before we get to nominations, Chris, I did actually have a question. There seemed to, in many things that we do that come before us, may involve town properties and other sorts of things. I always actually was hesitant to attend their meetings, particularly when they were talking about things that might eventually come in front of us, and I wouldn't want to be prejudging things that were coming this direction. So that was part of my...
Yeah, the ordinance requires that there be an ex officio member from you.
Does anyone have any interest in joining the folks at the...
I heard that you didn't express any. Paul Schatz may be doing so right now. We're unaware of that, but it's possible.
Paul, if you're watching. How often do they meet, by the way?
Yeah, good.
monthly.
Monthly.
I think I'm already a member of the,
West Rock Ridge State Park
yes, the
Council.
West Rock Ridge Council. Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to swap for that one.
What else are you gonna give me?
Anyone else have any interest?
I got the Housing Opportunity Committee.
I got the squad.
I would love to. Not at this time, thank you.
The new guy.
No.
Yeah, it's hard. Look, I'm being responsible. I have so much on my plate. It's tough. It's a little tough. It's just I can't. A quarterly, I'll sign up. I can't. I'm not going to sign up to another monthly. I can't do it. Can't do it.
So I will ask Paul Schatz if he's
Okay.
interested.
So do you want to say that this is continued till your next regular meeting?
Yes.
What about Susan?
Or Susan.
Susan.
Yeah. I will ask the both of them. And if no one else can do it, I will try to at least attend quarterly.
You know, if they rotated people, if they rotated members, I would take on once in a while. Okay, like in person, someone choose, but I guess they want one person. So there you go. That's something.
Okay.
Okay.
Next item, our draft regulation cleanup from Glenn Schuldner. Now, folks received that hopefully in their email. It was, each document is 240, 50 pages,
Yes.
so.
Received as yet unread. That's my response. Received as yet unread. Not reviewed.
So I guess, Chris, the question is what is the right level or type of feedback we should be giving right now on this to Mr.
He
Chalder?
needs to know what you think of what he's done.
Well, what was your impression, Chris?
Quite
Was it an
honestly, I haven't
improvement?
had a chance to look at it.
I think it came in last week, right? Or
No.
was it 2 weeks ago?
No, it wasn't before then.
I think this group got it just last week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, there were 2 drafts that were sent to you, so there's one draft that's just the markup, the way he believes that you wanted things to be looked at in terms of making sure everything was whatever, and then the second one has some things.
More
where he has some
substantial.
More substantial.
Well, it has editorial comments,
It
but
is.
Right.
it's the same draft, just with editorial
Editorial
comments. So we
comments.
need only read that one.
You only need to read one, yeah.
Okay.
And it's so the one with the editorial comments, they're just, I'm pulling mine up. So at a basic level, we now literally have for the first time a single PDF of our entire zoning regulations. So it's not,
Which is word searchable, and
so it'll
that's
be
huge for people.
truly functional when it lives on our website. It is also a document that has a word underlaying that is, again, will be able to be edited and changed
Right.
without the crazy procedure that Chris apparently had to
It
do
has to
before.
go through right now, yeah.
Yes.
I did read it very quickly when Chris sent it, and what I did read seemed like appropriate comments and suggestions and changes.
Well, but this is a big sort of question. There's dozens and dozens of those comments in red, and the reason they're in the margin is that these are not Scrivener's errors. These are not moving a table from here to there or making sure that the numbering system works or that there's references to a table that actually exists.
Right.
These are things, all of which are, many of which would rise to a level of, if we wanted to make the types of changes listed in those sidebar comments.
And he's doing a favor to us of that, because that actually requires public hearings, a whole different thing, right?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
the cleanup is easy, right? I mean, excuse me, that was not an appropriate word. The cleanup is easier. It's not so much, he's not changing it. He's just kind of if it's tables on
making it
page
functional.
12, it's
Yeah.
on page 12, it's a functional issue. The other side of it is a much more complicated thing we can take on over time.
Right, and I guess part of that sort of question is, to us, is in going through those comments, there will be lots and lots of things that could be taken up or may not want to take up. And these were meant in the spirit of, in what they're presented as, they are, highlighting things that could be done, not at all saying they have to be done or they should be done or any sort of order or ranking of them of what needs to be done first or second or otherwise. So it's worth spending some time with those. Well, first of all, it's worth spending time just to see the document and see that, oh yeah, it does work better now. And it is laid out more, logically. It looks good. It has all those sorts of things that are definite improvements. Then it's, I think, worth our time to sort of, in those red comments, if there are things that stand out as, yes, these are things I'm actually interested in. This one that was highlighted or that one that was highlighted. Maybe at our next, let's not do it at the special meeting, let's save it till our next regular meeting, or is that?
I can put it on the agenda for your next regular meeting, and then if you have a carryover of the toll application to that meeting, we can always defer it to October, because I don't know how much time you're gonna spend on, I don't know what the public may come out and speak or not, so
About toll.
certainly, yeah.
Yeah, no, what I'm saying is that would be a time, I think, or is it appropriate in a work session for us to sort of each come back and to the group and say, I read through the Chalder version with the comments, and these were a few things that I found.
Mr. Chairman, I like that, almost dividing it up into two. Like, as a group, we just go through it, and those of us who just accept everything, all the changes, and get it kind of cleaned up, and then the next step would be all these larger things. So I would suggest a two-step process. One, to accept changes that are pretty minor, Scrivener errors, mistakes, functional issues that we would all immediately agree on don't require a change, and then the second part, we can address all the other things.
So, but Chris, the cleaner version that he sent us, version A, which doesn't have the side margin, is not actually in track changes. It is just it's just the document. So we don't know exactly what it looks, when it was changed to the prior version. Is that right?
Right.
Okay.
And since it's not just Scrivener errors, I think it has to still go to a public hearing
Even the first version.
because Mary Ann Dubuque had said that the Scrivener's errors aren't there anymore. What you adopted back in 2019 was what got adopted, and if you change it from there, it goes. So you can advertise it for a public hearing that just says, you know,
Cleaning up or something.
it's basically a cleanup
Yeah.
to make a more usable document. I mean, it doesn't have, the first version has really no substantive changes to it. It's just making it searchable and.
But the
and
first version's
documented.
unmarked, Chris? That's unmarked?
It is not in track changes, so you cannot take
It's-
the
you
first
can't
version
tell-
and the original and.
Yeah, you can't tell what was changed in
But you can in the second version.
No.
it. No, the second version just has extra comments in it. Because the first version,
That's weird.
what he did is he laid it out differently than, you know, in terms of columns and all that other good stuff than you had before.
My only comment was with the tables, the way he broke it out into the residential districts and the business districts. And, I mean, I just found it, in the old zoning regulations, you had everything laid across so you could compare everything. And now it has it broken on two separate pages, so you have to kind of flip back and forth. And maybe that's just a problem for me, maybe it's easier for other people, but I found it easier the way the original zoning regulations were laid out, when you had everything going across and you could compare between the residential districts and the business districts, as opposed to having.
And that may have just been a thing in terms of one table was set out landscape-wise and the rest of the document is set out as
okay.
a portrait.
All right, that's the way it's gonna look, 'cause it just,
I'm just saying that that's
yeah.
the difference.
Right, so.
Well, I've got to read it. I don't have a well-informed opinion, clearly, and it's unfortunate that there weren't track changes. I mean, I work in contract law. I'm not an attorney. I'm a commercial banker. But all the stuff that comes in is all marked. Each just, yes, no, and you go through it. It's really easy.
Yeah, and I think the challenge here is that a lot of this was like reformatting and moving things around. So a track changes version, this would just be a
Wasn't
Be a
it
mess.
mess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair point.
So it could be as simple as sitting and,
Going through.
Robert, I don't know, do you have your?
No.
I
don't have that
hadn't given
version.
it to him yet because I was waiting to see what was happening with what we had.
I don't even have one yet.
You don't have it?
No.
Mine is like dog eared, I have little like stickies all over.
Mine has more.
It's a
stickies
good
than
point,
mine.
Mr. Chairman. You just go page by page. I
You
mean,
can sort of
it's
flip
just
through and
gotta
see, yeah.
have to do that. I mean,
Is there like a narrative that he maybe provided or something, or
I
would
think
you say
it's
that
too
this?
difficult to do that because it's
Yeah.
just, you know, he's already done it, so he'd have to go back through it. And quite honestly, he had a budget and was
Right.
almost at the end of his budget.
okay.
And part of it is that even the simplest thing of we no longer are living in two columns, it's all just one full page sort of paragraphs. So that too would just
Yeah,
make a
no,
mess.
you bring it. Of course, yes, sir. Yeah, no, good point. Yeah.
So, Chris, according to Attorney Dubuque, we do have to have a public hearing.
It's my understanding, I will double check with both her and town council, but it was my understanding very clearly that that's what she had said.
Should we schedule that now for the September or no? Or wait till
If you wanna run with what, I mean, it doesn't sound like everybody's had a chance to review it.
I would do that in October because we do have a pretty busy calendar, good with live deals.
So
Not deals, but live applications, or so I would do that in October.
So our homework assignment for September, can we put in our work session for September, revisiting everyone having
Read it.
reviewed this, and then we can schedule it for a public hearing at that September regular meeting?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. The only thing is that I'm not sure when Regional Council of Governments is meeting in September, because it has to get referred to them for comment.
Before we can have a public hearing.
Well, you should have their comments in your public hearing record, but I don't have a calendar in front of me, so wait a minute. So, yeah, see, the second Thursday in September is the 8th, so if you meet on the 6th and decide to schedule a public hearing, I don't believe that I can turn around and give it to the Council of Governments for the 8th. So, I mean, that may mean that you schedule it for a public hearing in November. Yeah.
Okay.
Have adequate time.
That's not a bad thing. It's not an application, but we should keep doing it, and
Yeah.
we are. So.
I mean, you want to do it right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that would be my recommendation, is schedule it for a public hearing, and that way, if you've got some comments and you want to make some changes or whatnot, you've got a little bit of time to wiggle with it.
Because at that, I mean, so this is again something we can discuss once we've all had a chance to review both the clean, mostly technical version and the version with our consultants' sort of side margin notes. So we could, if we wanted to take up something in the margin notes at that public hearing, we could.
Yeah, because you'd have enough time to be able to, you'd have most of September to make those changes, get them to the Council of Governments, and then still have comments back for a November hearing.
Okay. Okay. So everyone clear on our homework? Hopefully.
Yes.
Good. Item 3 in our work session is do we need to take steps regarding our zoning regulations regarding recreational cannabis dealers? So this comes out of our special meeting, our informational forum. It was on May 10th, which was recorded, and Chris, it was posted on the website. And there still isn't urgency here, correct? Or am I wrong?
There are people that are looking to do something in town. So currently, if you don't do anything, they come in under retail, period.
People that have already been awarded.
I don't know that they've been awarded, but are
Licenses.
looking to be able to be here.
So we have to proactively prevent. So if we're not interested, then we have to say no. We don't want to do this. Or otherwise, if we take no action, Mr. Chairman, it just comes in by state law. Is that true?
No, if we take no action, it's treated like any other retail in Woodbridge.
Meaning if we set no boundaries about, where it can.
Right. Okay.
So your liquor licenses have some
Sure.
boundaries on them,
Sure.
and that's your choice.
And we could, another option is to buy ourselves time with a moratorium
Right.
for a certain period of time as we're still figuring out if these are the types of establishments we want to put in with our liquor category, for instance.
Has there been any public comment I'm sure you would have told us, but
I haven't heard anything from the public, but I've had people inquiring about what are you gonna do,
That want us to allow.
that are looking to be here, yes.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Are these folks that have applied for,
I don't ask them that. They're calling and saying, what is Woodbridge regulation? And I say, At this point, you're still talking about it.
Because I know the application process had closed in mid-May or so, so is there a way of finding out if anybody actually applied?
I don't know, because
it's
when
a-
he was talking about it, there were thousands of applications, and then
Yeah.
there was that lottery system, and then they went into another
Right.
tier and whatnot.
Right,
so-
right.
And only a handful being awarded throughout the whole state, the chances of,
I mean, I can ask.
you know.
Right, it's probably chances are
I
no.
mean, I
that
can
someone's
go
gonna
back to him
select
and
it.
ask, because I'm sure he would know.
If we were to adopt a moratorium, that's something we could do now.
Well,
I
we
think
need
you
a
have to
public
go through
hearing.
a hearing process.
For a moratorium?
I believe so, but I will double check.
Wow, okay.
We also talked about doing a survey just to get these, sentiment of the town as to how they feel about this.
So,
So, which I agree this would be the type of thing would be good to have some public input in. I think there's just this, I thought there is a clock ticking on if we want to do a moratorium, we have to do it within a certain amount of.
There's something that one of the folks that came in, Mr. Chairman, said specifically about it. I could have some notes on it. And you just have to watch. You just have to be careful on it.
Man, I want to go on the record, this is a very sensitive issue around the state, as we all know. So making sure that we have as much public input as possible, I think is going to be critical for whatever decisions that we make.
well, and we have, at this point, the Housing Opportunity Study Committee bought into a program for doing surveys, and we bought it for a year. So if we're gonna take advantage of that, we have to do it within the time frame that we have for that.
And then when a survey is created, who is the entity that creates the survey? Would that be us or you, or should we
We-
consider?
The Housing Committee created it.
Right.
And then it's a program that I put the questions
pop
into
it in.
and you format whether they're multiple choice,
Sure.
whatever you choose to do. And it's a real-time response. So as soon as somebody logs in and does it, it automatically,
Cool.
is, so.
Did the Housing Opportunity Study Committee engage like a consultant to help them create that
No.
survey?
We were, we did not. We did our best college try, but I think, someone did say that the survey was okay. Somebody was expert in doing surveys, but no, we didn't have because a lot of people, that's
I mean, I
their
don't-
profession is to do, correct surveys. And, I think our survey wasn't probably, statistically correct all the way, but I think for the most part,
And I don't think that the survey on this particular question would be as difficult
yeah,
to
I
create.
think we're asking a couple
And
of
I don't think
questions,
that,
right?
yeah,
Because
survey
we
on
can only
this
like
particular- I mean,
control
when I-
the sales.
No, because as I recall from the presentation, there's the ability to be a cultivator, right? With which comes with it the ability of the town to receive tax revenue. If I might be misquoting that. There's one category
There's one
among
category
several.
that it's the
Yeah.
sales
That the
where there's an
town-
extra tax that
Right, the
comes
town
to
can
the town.
generate tax revenue as opposed to just the state. So I think it's important that if and when we create such a survey, we have to do this simultaneous thing of educating people. Here's what you'd be agreeing to if you agreed to this, that the
Yeah.
town would generate revenue. Because as much as it's a sensitive issue, I think it's important to reiterate that, when you've got New Haven right next to you, who's moving quickly, saying, come on down, we're happy to host you in our commercial business, opportunities, or, they're ready to take whoever will come. And so, this town has been struggling a lot with bringing business in and bringing commercial business in to generate.
Yeah,
I think.
and there's regulations around, you must, if you're gonna open up a retail establishment, if you're licensed for, there's urban requirements, where you can reside, where you can't reside. I mean, there's specifics around where and how you can be granted a cannabis license. But again, I think it's incumbent on us to make sure that the residents of this town understand all of that, and we can feed them if it's through a survey, public hearing, whatever it may be, that we're offering them a voice to provide their opinion. So when we do make a decision, and whatever it is, we can go back on the record and say, but the survey results showed X and Y.
Yeah, I mean, I did find that the survey does help educate residents as to what the issues are. Because I'm not sure how many people actually went back and watched the presentation that we had on the hearing. It'd be interesting to see how many hits we had on that video, and I imagine there probably wasn't that many. So we might need to have other avenues of educating the public as to what this is and what this isn't.
Yeah. I mean, the other mention that I was gonna make is that the survey does have the ability for people to write in comments, and it will tabulate all those comments so that you can look at what people had to say too.
Yes, which is very telling.
Yeah, and I mean.
Is it hard to send out a 5-question survey or something to people in town and say, what's your opinion? Can we just do that?
Well, you need to give them some direction on what their options are, because there's more than one option,
Sure.
so.
And I think and one of the things that struck me from our presentation is that there are 9 different license
Yeah.
types. So it's not just retail sales, but you can have the cultivators, the manufacturer of products, the food maker, I mean.
Yeah, and we've had inquiries regarding that whole spectrum.
Whole spectrum.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, that's part of how a survey could help educate. It's not just the retail side of it.
Right.
There are these other elements to it.
For the time being, through June 2024, we can only authorize one retailer anyway locally in the town of Woodbridge and one micro cultivator. Because through June 30, 2024, it's a cap on 25,000 residents in the town. So you can have one retailer and you can have one micro cultivator. I'm not sure about the other 7 categories, so however that would work. But there is a little bit of a restriction. My understanding, to your point, Robert, if I heard you right, is there's a lot going on at the state level. That might go away real quick.
Yeah.
But it is a slower process at first. It's a slow process at
Right.
first, so.
What might go real quick?
Until June 30, 2024,
Right.
you can only have one retailer
Yeah, I
in the
guess that,
town.
but what-
That
what's
might
going
go
on?
away because they're trying to change that.
They're trying to change that so that you can have more than one to eliminate the cap?
Yes. I know nothing about where it stands.
You don't know nothing about
I don't know where that stands. Like, I
Sure,
don't know.
sure.
I don't know.
Well, they're not in session right now, so that's.
But, so yes, I agree, sort of getting the sense that again, that survey is not easy because it needs to get at some of the complexity of the different types of things and the options that you would have to regulate these types of businesses and how to sort of craft a survey that, there are extreme options or, ban outright and treat like any retail store we have. The liquor store seems to be the middle one, but I'm not sure if there are varying sort of, things between liquor store and retail that, more traditional retail that we would be interested in entertaining.
So where does that leave us?
I don't know where that leaves us. That's a good question. Where that
I think, Mr. Chairman, I think it leaves us in the position of more investigation. Yeah, and I don't think that's calls for any type of movement on this until then, and that could be in the late fall or so. And that's just my comment on it.
So just to let you know, I Googled it real quick, and other towns have been holding public hearings on the moratorium, which is what I thought you had to do. So I will confirm that, but I believe you do have to schedule a public hearing
if we were
to
going to
establish a moratorium. Yeah, you can't just say we're having a moratorium.
that does make sense to me. I just don't recall whether there was, if we don't have a moratorium in place by a certain date, do we
I
default?
will find that out, and if there's a
That is an
sooner
open
rather than
question.
later thing,
Yeah,
I'll let you know.
That's important.
Yeah.
We should find that out.
I feel strongly enough about wanting to have more commercial business in this town, but not so much that it's marijuana related. I don't really care that much about cannabis or marijuana. I'm glad we've legalized it, but so with that in mind, I'm willing to try and take a stab at crafting a survey and giving it to you all for discussion. I'm willing to take an attempt at a first draft. I can't tell you that I'd be able to do that by. My goal would be to try and do that by the September meeting. That would be my goal. But it sounds like we might need to think about if we're going to do a moratorium or have public hearing the moratorium. It would probably need to be in September, right?
No.
I don't know. I'm gonna find that out.
We'll find that out. I don't think that, I think if anything I recall, maybe something by the end of this year.
Yeah, I think it's the end of the year, so you've got a little bit of time to play
Sure.
with the moratorium.
Sure.
But Yoni, would you like someone else to join you in that endeavor?
I would. Are you offering?
No. But I was opening it up to the other two.
Chris, maybe other towns have done a survey. Maybe is there something we could canvass?
Yeah, I mean, I could talk to CCM and see if.
Yeah, CCM
Claire's
would
really
know,
tough
and
with
I can
CCM
also
people.
ask the attorney that came and did the presentation if he's aware of any surveys that were done. So
I bet
between the
he
two-
would know.
Yeah, I
That's
don't
a
think
good.
I don't think it could hurt to try and see what they've done, and I don't think there's a wheel that needs to be completely reinvented here. We can't be the
Yeah.
first people.
And I mean, the way this program is set up,
Maybe we are.
I can make it like a draft survey, and then, if you have questions, you can all try it
Yeah,
and see if it works.
beta test
Sure.
it.
Hey, Yoni, if you need a wingman, I'll be glad to.
I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. And we'll aim, now, Chris, it's okay for them to craft something
Yeah.
and share it at our
Yeah.
September regular meeting?
Yeah, they're not a quorum, so they
Okay.
can work together.
When they share it, is it a public document that should be shared?
You're working on a draft, so,
Okay.
I mean, it's not
course.
gonna have,
It's a survey, right?
it's a survey, so I mean, it's
Yeah.
not like,
And people can write whatever they want in it at the end, right? There's public comment that people could put in it.
if that's the way you phrase the survey. So
Understood.
like, in the housing survey, we had a question at the end for additional comment. And 170 people
Oh,
or
no, it was
whatever.
over 200. It was
Yeah,
like
made
200.
comments,
There was a
so,
lot of
you know,
comments,
And
scared comments.
so I mean, and then there were some questions that were in there where there was an option of other, and people commented. So, I mean, it's just a helpful thing so that people in particular, when they're taking the survey, don't feel like you've boxed them into an
Right.
answer. It's either
Right.
this or this. You're giving them another option to.
Sure.
And then we publicize those survey results on the web page for the housing committee. So it was all transparent.
Okay. Well, thank you, Yoni and Robert, for your willingness to do a draft, and all of us will look forward to that.
Benefit from our hard work, sure.
Yes,
yeah.
we will. And it's much appreciated.
And I will double check on the moratorium process
Yep. And dates.
And dates.
and dates.
If we have a timeline for that. Okay, anything else on cannabis? I think we've gone through that. Andrew, anything you'd like to report from?
There is no
Regional.
report, there was no meeting last month because there was no business.
That is a very succinct report, always appreciate it.
Thank you for your reporting.
Report of our zoning enforcement officer, Chris, anything to share?
Well, I'm 2 parts towards becoming an official zoning enforcement officer.
Oh, great.
I
Congratulations.
went to 2 week-long classes and successfully passed my test. So now I just have to do a case study, which is very interesting because a lot of towns apparently have zoning violations that end up in court. And I'm sitting here I've been here 22 years now, and I only recall one where we ended up in court, and that was it. So we'll see how the case study goes.
Well, that's
The
awesome.
goal is to talk to people and get them to comply. So.
Cool.
So I thought that was a positive thing about Woodbridge, that we don't have to hammer people over the head. Whatever.
Do you know offhand when we're supposed to be going for training?
Your
Oh,
training
good
is
point.
supposed to start, there has been nothing that's come out yet about your training. in terms of when it's gonna be offered, but I believe it's gonna start in January, so.
And that's a state requirement, right?
That's a state requirement.
That's
It's a
new
state
for-
requirement, what I had to do too.
Okay.
Or I'm still in the process of
Yeah, that
doing.
makes sense.
So, anyhow, I'm on my way to become official. Other than that, it's been, you know, we've had a couple little notices of violation, but people, you know, you talk to them and you fix it.
Great.
That's as it should be.
Good. I think next up on the agenda were correspondence, and we have two pieces. Did you want to start with the PFOA/PFAS or the parking concerns raised by Stephanie Carleggio? Any preference? Let's start with PFAS, because I think it's at least first in order. Hopefully folks received in their packet the email from Chandra Prasad and
So my comment on this is that we had an application that we approved. An appeal was taken to the Superior Court, and then that appeal was withdrawn. I don't think we have any jurisdiction to repeal a previously approved application.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. So I think this is moot for us to discuss. If these people want to sue the Amity Board of Education and/or the contractor, they're free to do so.
I would concur with that because as I recall, even though I didn't vote on it, I recall that that was as simple as we could have made it. They made a representation on the record, and
Exactly
It's
correct.
in the contract.
Exactly
Right.
correct. They made a representation, they put it in the guarantee or performance contract, it's included in that. We voted in favor, you know, those who were here at the time, and so that it would be on the Board of Ed or the superintendent. That's very fair.
I think they need to hire a lawyer and take it up with the lawyer.
And I think we're also hearing they also need to address it to the Board of Education. It's the Board of Education's.
That's up to them.
They're a party to the contract with the turf.
So I did, just so you know, for full disclosure, I did contact the superintendent of schools and forward the email to her. She had not received it directly, but she had received it from other members who are board members of the Amity Board.
Sure.
And so it's my understanding that their attorney will be responding to it. And I also contacted, because DEP was also copied on this, and I did contact them to find out, you know, what they were gonna do. They will also be responding, so I know that there are two responses coming, both from the Amity Board and from DEP. Haven't seen them yet, don't know what they'll say, but they are out there.
Thank you, Chris. And I think you shared back with us, or maybe you only shared with me, a response from Deep to that effect. I think there was an email from
I think I
Shannon.
may have sent it to all of you.
You sent it to the entire.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
So, I mean, I'm keeping you all in the loop as much as I can.
So I think we have all been kept in the loop. We also, this additional thing was
And
that
then
our-
I gave you that this evening, because I did find the actual press release that was referenced in the email. So I thought it would be helpful for everybody to know what the press release said. So, not commenting on it, just saying, here's the press release.
I think it's moot from our perspective.
All right, any other comments, thoughts on this before we move to our other item of correspondence? Seeing none. So Chris, our other item of correspondence is regarding the parking. Apologies, my papers are getting a little out of control.
And this rises out of, at some point, I thought it might be coming in for this month, but it hasn't. So, there will be an application coming to you for a 14-lot subdivision where each lot will have a duplex on it down on Merritt Avenue between the Merritt Parkway and Merritt Avenue. And so I believe that the letter that Stephanie wrote was written because of a duplex that's already been built there and how the parking has affected the people who live in the area. So my suggestion would be go down there, drive by, and see what it looks like.
Is that in addition to the construction or the moving of earth that had already begun behind the two duplexes that have already been built?
Yes.
In
So-
addition to that?
So, yes, there would be a short road going in there about 375 feet long, and then on that, there would be 14 lots. That's what was proposed to wetlands. So I'm assuming that's what's gonna come to you. It will come to you as a subdivision and also as a flood hazard permit, because the houses that are proposed on the west side of the street are pretty much all within the flood hazard zone, so they require a permit from you. They're proposing an elevated there's no basement, but an elevated height to the structures, so that the height of the structures would be above the flood area. But the parking, the houses would be basically the same as the ones that you see along Merritt. Again, it's a parking issue where it's an old subdivision. The streets are narrow. When there's snow in there apparently are issues with school buses trying to get through and whatnot.
Do we even have the authority to establish, change, or create parking on public streets?
No. But what
But who
she's
does, actually?
The police commission,
The
right?
police commission does, but what happened was, what she's trying to talk about is that most of the houses that are there currently have parking that ends up occurring behind the houses, not in front of the houses. And the way your zoning is now, because that's one of those transect districts, the parking ends up in front. So when you're driving down the street, you see a house with cars in front of it, rather than what's traditionally been there with a house with cars behind or in a garage.
So like these photos that she sends of this house with the RV parked in front of it, is there something that's in violation technically about that?
She's just trying to show you, well, technically the RV should be screened on all sides. If I send them a letter and tell them to screen it on all sides, they will do what they already had done and park it in the street, where they're allowed to park it in the street.
Screened on all sides.
Your zoning regulations require that anything like a camper or anything like that, or a boat, has to be screened on all sides from view. And there's no way to get that thing into the back, because the house being a duplex and having very small side yards precludes having a driveway that goes back there.
But to Andrew's point, isn't this if there are parking challenges, isn't this call out for rules about parking, that it's only allowed parking on one side of the street and not the other, or, those?
What she's saying is it's because of the transect district and the parking within those three areas that are created within that transect zone, that the parking is now in the front, that before
No,
you didn't
I-
force it.
But I understand that, so you could park in your driveway in front of your house.
You could, yeah.
And it seems like she's more complaining about people aren't doing that, they're parking in the street. Well, if there was no parking on that street, or very limited parking, or et cetera, wouldn't that solve the problem?
I don't know.
I mean, I was also confused by the picture. So it looked like the
I
point
mean,
she was trying to make was that because the RV was parked in the driveway, that they had to park the car on the street, and that was the problem.
That was my interpretation of what was being shown, so.
Right, and it seems the complaint is that people are parking on this potentially on both sides of this narrow street, making it hard to maneuver. Why not have the police, or whoever's in charge of parking, establish rules that you're only allowed to park on one side of the street?
I can give her that response back from you.
Also, she refers in that, so I guess it's the second paragraph, about the 6-bedroom, 2-family houses that are being built. That's in that area that's
The
between Merritt
duplexes
and.
are all 3 bedrooms, so within that one lot, there are 6 bedrooms. the state statutes, when they became effective October don't give you the authority to require any more parking than 2 spaces for any number of bedrooms. So you don't have the opportunity to require more parking, even if there are 3 bedrooms or 4 bedrooms. I mean, the idea being that if you've got a high school age kid, they're gonna have a car, mom and dad are gonna have a car, so you might have,
What is depicted in the photograph on the last page? From what perspective and what is it purporting to show? Other than the trailer?
And the new construction behind it.
Yeah, but where is that? Is that on right on Merritt Avenue? Is that?
those are the new, that's probably from the bridge, looking at the new houses under construction.
And
Which
those
are behind the duplexes that are already occupied.
Correct. So these got built because there was a first split, and so they were entitled to build 2 duplexes because of that. But now these will now be accessed off of a road, should you approve the subdivision. So this is looking at it, from what I can tell, from the Merritt Avenue Bridge, looking east towards the tunnel, east towards the tunnel. North towards the tunnel.
I'll have to look at that because one would think that the parking for those units that, as I'm visualizing it, are off of Merritt Avenue by one lot.
But
Would
they
be-
will eventually be on a road.
On a public road?
The public road would feed in front of these if your subdivision gets, if that subdivision gets approved.
So, what do folks feel about the giving Chris guidance here? It seems like a street parking problem, which is something we don't have jurisdiction over. Is there a gentle way to suggest that she talk with the police commission?
Just say that.
I concur.
When was Leslie Green involved in redoing our regulations? Do you have any idea when that was?
Yeah.
That was when they were adopted in 2019.
About 4 years.
Remember we
Oh,
were
okay.
doing those changes
Okay,
with the
Leslie Green.
transact.
I guess I didn't recognize that name.
She was at it for the better part of 2 years.
So is she saying a mistake happened, or was it
She's
deliberate?
saying that because of the transect setup that was set up for this particular
Sure.
zone,
Okay.
that pushed the parking to be in the front of the houses, with no availability to get to parking behind the houses.
Which again, I don't have a problem with the density of this part of town and people who can park on, they all seem to have driveways in front of garages or garages. If people are then also parking in the street, you regulate how many spaces you allow in the street.
Is it hard for people to drive up and down the road?
She says yes.
That's what's happening, right? That's part of the issue.
But you may also not like looking at people's cars in front of them.
Yeah, yes, understood.
Referral?
Any other reactions other than referral?
I'd have to go down there, Mr. Chairman, and look at it and understand this a little bit better. I don't have an opinion right now about it. I think she should check with the police, for sure. Check with the police and see if there could be some restrictions put in place. And I volunteer to go down and look at it and understand it a little bit better. And I also want to understand what happened with the zoning. I don't mean to step on you, sir. But what happened with the transect thing? How did that happen, that caused that change? I guess it was by accident.
It wasn't by accident. There were a number of very emotional public hearings.
Yes, I
at
remember.
which we were screamed at.
Yes, we were. Yeah.
More than screamed.
Yeah. in this game.
before half of our time.
Yes.
Okay, so Chris, does that help a referral to, regarding the parking issues to the committee that actually has cognizance over there, but a statement that members of the commission are,
We'll be
will be
We'll
going
be
down
visiting the site.
to take a look?
Yes.
Does that help you in your communication?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we're now,
One quick question, that whole area is a floodplain? Like the whole stretch of Manila, Merritt,
No,
Miles?
the floodplain goes up into like half of where this new subdivision
I see,
would go.
I see.
So, you know, part of what you'll have to look at is the houses, yes, are raised above, but that doesn't raise the road above or the driveways above, so does that isolate people in houses versus having a road that they can actually drive out of?
Sorry, one more question. Just to clarify, this new subdivision that you were talking about, you said something about that we may be asked to approve. So what's already been approved has some development there.
Inland
right,
Wetlands has acted on it, and now it will come to you.
Come back to us, I see. Mhm.
But not with respect to the two structures shown in this last photograph.
They will be as shown as lots in this subdivision, because they will then be accessed off this road rather than via private driveways.
So it'll be a new road created.
Correct.
but at this point in time, they didn't need our approval for those two houses.
For the
that
two
were-
houses, they didn't need
Right.
your approval, it was a
Right.
first split. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very complicated, it's a big board game, lots of rules. Most people don't understand it, so.
So last item we have is approval of minutes. We have 2 minutes in front of us. I will make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of the regular meeting of May 2nd, 2022. Do I have a second?
Second.
Tie.
I think we'll give it to Yanni.
Okay.
No.
I didn't second.
He didn't even say anything.
I thought he did.
No, it was Andrew. Give it to Andrew,
Okay, then we'll give it to
'cause
you.
Robert, you weren't there, so you'll have to
Oh,
abstain.
that's right, that's right, I have to abstain, excuse me, I got ahead of myself.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion, edits, changes to the May 2nd, 2022 meeting minutes?
No.
Seeing, hearing none, all in favor of approving this, going to say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstentions? And Robert Reed abstains. I will make a motion to approve the minutes of the special meeting of May 10th, 2022. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kathy. Moved and seconded. Any comments, edits, changes to those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Staying.
Terrific. Alrighty. Motion to, actually, sorry, any last, any other items, other business? Seeing and hearing none, it was really nice to see all of you in person.
And no mask. No mask.
No mask. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Thank you all.